All right, so we're starting today in Deuteronomy 13, verse 1. And y'all are going to have to excuse me. I've got to take this off. I've been running around trying to fix sound system this morning, and it gets a little warm, so forgive me. Okay. If a prophet or a dreamer of dreams rises among you and gives you a sign or a wonder, and the sign or the wonder comes true concerning what he spoke to you, saying, "Let us go after other gods whom you have not known, and let us serve them," you shall not listen to the words of the prophet or the dreamer of dreams. For the Lord your God is testing you to find out if you love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul. You shall follow the Lord your God and fear him, and you shall keep his commandments, listen to his voice, serve him, and cling to him. All right, so we know God's pretty jealous, right? Yahweh's pretty much, if you're his, people best leave you alone and not come after you. But he also gets jealous in the sense that he doesn't want anybody else around serving other gods. I mean, that's the underlying point here. And gods you've known, let us go after other gods whom you have not known. And that, you'll notice that's a constant statement as we go through this, because he repeats this several times, as we know, they tend to do that a lot. Because keep in mind, again, what's about to happen. They're about to go into lands to take over the promised land, and they're pagans. They're all serving all these false gods. And so as they're going through all this, he knows, because this is still this is still Moses telling them, look, these are things you're going to run into. You've got to be cautious. You're going to come across people that are doing other things. That's why he's already made a point of telling them, if you come across people worshiping other gods, or you find their stones set up for their burnt offerings, destroy it all. Get rid of everything. He doesn't want it there in their land, because if you don't see something, you're not tempted by it. Think about Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. They weren't tempted until they had knowledge of things to be tempted by. I mean, all of this was, and I think everything goes back to things like that. When you look at Adam and Eve, they had no problem with, what's the first thing God tells us? Who told you were naked? They didn't have a clue before that. And so everything was fine up until that point. And it's the same concept. If you don't see this other stuff, you're not drawn away by it. That's one of the reasons that I don't like having regular TV on. Why? Especially as my kids were growing up and much younger, I really didn't want them to be influenced by all the things that are on TV. And that's why we tried to avoid that personally. I mean, everybody gets to make that choice, but for us, it was something I didn't want to put before them, because it gives you more things. Ooh, hey, what about that? I want to try this. I want to try that. Well, if you don't know it exists, you don't have that problem. Today, you get to see everything. It's called the internet, right? The internet's a wonderful and terrible thing, all combined, because it does great things and it does horrible things. And
that's really something you say when you make a living.
Yeah, I do. Without a doubt, I do. And it's a good and terrible thing. Same thing as politics. It's a good and terrible thing. So it's one of those where it can be used for good or evil. And if you only get exposed to the evil, you're in trouble. If you're exposed only to the good, hey, everything's okay. But it's hard with pop-up ads on computers and the internet to go somewhere and know that, no, this is going to be a safe place to look. I mean, sometimes even the ads on the some of the research sites I go to when I'm preparing for these lessons pop up with things that I don't need to be seeing on there. Why are you showing me erectile dysfunction stuff? I'm trying to study the Word of God. Just, come on, really? And this is how our world is today. So he's just making a point. If you're going to see this stuff, get rid of it. You don't want this around you. And that's what this is all about. And this is what all this chapter is really going to be about, is reminding them that you've got to stay away from this. You shall follow the Lord your God and fear him. You shall keep his commandments, listen to his voice, serve him, cling to him. So not listening to all this other stuff that's out there. But that prophet or that dreamer of dreams shall be put to death, because he has counseled rebellion against the Lord your God, who brought you from the land of Egypt and redeemed you from the house of slavery, to seduce you from the Lord, or from the way in which the Lord your God commands you to walk. So you shall purge the evil from among you. Now, keep in mind, we're Old Testament here, New Testament, a little different rules. But at this point, throughout the Old Testament, until Christ shows up and changes things, oh, you've got this in your land amongst you, get rid of it. Just now, kill the person. Notice he doesn't say that this person isn't a prophet. He just doesn't explain who he's a prophet for. Satan's in the world too. Don't forget, he's still there. So there's good and bad influences. And God's answer, always answer to him here is, get rid of them. Get it out. Get it out now. Kill them. Don't let it happen. If your brother, your mother's son, or your son or daughter, or the wife you cherish, or your friend who is as your own soul, entices you secretly, saying, let us go and serve other gods, to whom neither you nor your fathers have known, of the gods of the peoples who are around you, near you, or far from you, from one end of the earth to the other end, you shall not yield to him or listen to him, and your eye shall not pity him, nor shall you spare or conceal him, but you shall surely kill him. Your hand shall be first against him to put him to death, and afterwards the hand of all the people. So it's not just, you start it, but if you can't finish it, make sure your brothers and everybody else knows this guy's got to go. We got to get him out of here. We got to kill him. Because Old Testament justice is extreme. It's, oh, you did this? Okay, well, you're dead. Well, we're not going to have that here. Today, we let all that stuff go, largely. I mean, look at people we let back on the street. Oh, you were selling drugs to kids? 30-day suspended sentence. Go on back. It's only your first time. In the Old Testament, it'd be, well, let me introduce you to Yahweh. We're going to do it right now. You're going to meet him here in the next few minutes. Primarily, they did this stuff by stoning, just to be clear. But the point is that Yahweh doesn't want us to look at other things that are going to mislead us. Like I was talking about one thing I think last week. Ooh, look at the shiny thing over here. It's something new. It's something different. Ooh, let's try that and see how that works out. If you want to try all the things in the world to see which one works for you, and you always see these celebrities, switch from religion to religion to religion. Why? Because none of them are about them. They're a little too self-centered. The thing is, you can try. You'll eventually find somebody that tells you what you want to hear. But is it the truth? And that's the difference. Are you looking for what you want to hear, or are you looking for the truth? Because the truth is that following Yahweh is not so simple. Following Christ is not easy. It doesn't mean everything works out well for you.
And there are pastors today, like two come to mind quickly, Joel Osteen and Andy Stanley, who preach what the people want to hear, and they make up what is not in the Bible, but they have humongous congregations.
Well,
I mean, it's terrible.
You look at a lot of the mega churches, and what you find is they'll tell you some of the truth, but they just don't tell you the rest of the story. And that's what kills me. They don't want to talk about everything in the Bible, just the good, the nice things. That's all they preach on. They don't preach on, if you do this, you're going to die. If you do this, you're going to go to hell. They don't preach on that.
Andy Stanley wants to do away with the Old Testament.
No, that's not too surprising.
It's not relevant today. It is relevant.
It's very relevant. Yeah. And Joel Osteen's got money buried in the walls of the church. So, there are all kinds of questions. That's not a joke. That's something that literally happened. The IRS got involved. All kind of fun.
When Joel Osteen was on the Larry King, he asked him, is there any other way to heaven except through Jesus Christ? And he went to Walter, well, you could the job. He should have said, no, next question.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I lost faith in him right
Yeah,
then.
exactly.
Yeah.
You're not gonna,
No.
praise God, I disbelieve you.
No, definitely not. But there's so much of that.
And see, one of the hard things in America, which I'm thankful for all the good things, but I told you last week, the Christian pastors were hosting a forum or whatever
Mm-hmm.
of all religions.
Yeah.
That's contrary to the Bible.
Yeah.
Contrary to the Bible.
Yes.
Yeah, let's love the Muslims, which we should, but we're not embracing their religion.
No. Well, that's
Certainly, if there's any other way to heaven between, except Jesus Christ, that's contrary to the Bible.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
You don't
Well.
walk around and say you should do this.
But it's the same thing as Southern Baptist Convention holding their convention in Las Vegas. Hey, let's go to Sin City. That's a place we want to go.
Exactly.
Well, you're there to build each other up. If you were there to go, hey, we need to go, we want to go somewhere, we're going to have try to save this, save everybody in the town. Okay, Vegas is the place to go. But you better have a meeting somewhere else first and prepare everybody before you go there. Let me tell you. And so there are a lot of things that are wrong in the way we go about things, right down to, see, I'm not above picking on our own religion. Y'all know I pick on all kinds of religions in here, and I do it intentionally. But I'm not going to shy away from picking on ours too, because we've got problems like everybody else. And the only thing we can do is start here and push that out, right? It's the same thing as politics. It's who you have locally affects who you have nationally, affects who you have worldwide. And with Israel here, he's telling them these things. Moses is telling them this stuff because they're all going to be in one place. So they shouldn't have, if they do what Yahweh's telling them to, drive everybody out, there's not going to be anybody there to influence them. But they will have left their false gods there. They will have left their temples there. They will have left their stacked stones for burnt offerings there. And that's why in previous chapters he's been telling them, you've got to get rid of that stuff. Why? Because they're trying to avoid outside influences. He's giving them a land that's all theirs that shouldn't be corrupted if they'll just follow his word. They'll be fine. But of course we know they don't. But you get the idea. That's what this is all about. Saying he's creating an environment for them, a place for them where they're going to be good. They're going to be covered. All the bad stuff that they could see is not going to be there. Okay.
I call them feel good for you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What makes
Well,
you feel good? Not the truth, but
that's...
the money that keeps coming in.
Mm-hmm. Then all of Israel will hear and be afraid and will never do such a wicked thing among you. If you hear in one of your cities where the Lord your God is giving you to live in, anyone saying that some worthless men have gone out from amongst you and have seduced the inhabitants of the city, saying, let us go and serve other gods, whom you have not known, then you shall investigate and search out and inquire thoroughly. If it is true and the matter established that this abomination has been done among you, you shall surely strike the inhabitants of the city with the edge of the sword, utterly destroying it and all that it is, and its cattle and with the edge of the sword. So notice, this is a whole kill them all, let God sort them out. I don't know if you remember there were bumper stickers of that in the 80s, especially if you went to gun shows in the 80s. It was all kill them all, let God sort them out. And the 80s had all kinds of good ones. Kill a commie for mommy. There were all kinds of wonderful ones there. But point is, he's making it clear, you're to just decimate it, destroy it, get it out, get it away. You don't want it there. It's akin to where later in the Old Testament, God's saying, if your right eye causes you to sin, pluck it out. It's better to get rid of it than it is to continue to sin. And that's what he's talking about here. If you see them doing these things, eliminate the city. Get rid of it. Then you shall gather all its booty into the middle of its open square, and burn the city and all its booty with fire as a whole burnt offering to the Lord your God. And it shall be a ruin forever. It shall never be rebuilt. He even wants them to stay away from, just if it's that bad, if you had that much corruption there, just leave it. Get away from, destroy it, and then just go. But this, keep in mind, he's given these examples, and this is kind of sad because it's foreshadowing. He's giving these examples of a place where they're already supposed to be driving everybody out, all the pagans out, which means this is going to be, they're going to be Israelites that do this. He's telling them, that he's not saying it so bluntly, but if you read between the lines, how else would this happen if they drove everybody out? It wouldn't, unless it's from within. So if it's from within, it's Israelites doing this. Kind of a scary thing if you look at it that way. Nothing from that which is put under the ban shall cling to your hand, in order that the Lord may turn from his burning anger and show mercy to you, and have compassion on you, and make you increase, just as he has sworn to your fathers. In other words, don't take any of the stuff. Don't take any trophies out of it. Don't say, whoa, that's a really nice golden whatever there. That gold's worth something. I'll just take the gold. I'll melt it down, but I'm going to go take that gold. No, it's back to when they built the golden calf. You remember what Moses did, right? Moses burned it, beat it up until it was just small pieces, and then took it and dumped the small pieces in the river so nobody could ever use that again. The gold was still valuable, but because of what it had been used for, it was to be utterly destroyed. And that's what we're talking about here. Utterly destroy it. Leave it. Don't take anything of it. Remember, that's in a lot of these places he takes over. Even some of them they've already gone through. They went in and destroyed certain things, but others they were allowed to keep. When it's this kind of sin, where it's putting another god before Yahweh, that's where he's like, no, destroy it, everything, just leave it. You don't get anything out of it. It's gone. If you will listen to the voice of the Lord your God, keeping all his commandments. Sorry, and I should have kept reading because I forgot there was a comment this. I did this when I was reading through it too. My Bible has a indent, like this is a new section starting on 18. It's a continuation, so my apology for the previous sentence. So if you will listen to the voice of the Lord your God, keeping all his commandments, which I'm commanding you today, and doing what is right in the sight of your Lord your God. He's saying this is where the Lord will show you mercy if you just, for what happened in this city. Just leave all the stuff there. Don't have anything to do with it. It'll all be okay, basically. Okay, now we get into some other interesting stuff. This may bring about some fun questions, because this starts into what is acceptable to eat for Israel and what is not. What's clean food and what's unclean food. And again, comparing this to today, we're going through stuff that, we're saying unclean and clean, but the reality is we know when we're in the New Testament, we get to the point of everything's clean because God made everything. But he's giving this to them in part anyway, because other cultures that are pagans use these things or use them in rituals or something else. And he's kind of dividing it up, saying, that's not exclusively that, but these are the things you're going to have and not have. And most of these, not all of them, relate back to other cultures and what they were doing. Okay, you are the sons of the Lord your God, and you shall not cut yourselves, nor shave your forehead for the sake of the dead. For you are a holy people to the Lord your God, and the Lord has chosen you to be a people for his own possession out of all the peoples who are on the face of the earth. You shall not eat any detestable thing. Now, here's where we get into the fun stuff. These are the animals which you may eat: the ox, the sheep, the goat, the deer, the gazelle, the roebuck, the wild goat, the ibex, the antelope, and the mountain sheep. Any animal that divides the hoof and has the hoof split in two and chews its cud among the animals that you may eat. Nevertheless, you are not to eat of these among those which chew the cud, or among those that divide the hoof in two, the camel and the rabbit and the chiffon, for though they chew the cud, they do not divide the hoof. They are unclean to you. All right, anybody know what the chiffon is? It's basically a rabbit, but it's a different type of rabbit.
That's what my Bible calls them, is rabbit.
Yeah, it's basically, well, it's a different kind. I wanted to look it up because I wanted to know what I was talking about. So it's the only reason I figured that one out. So yeah, that's all that one is. But so he gives exemptions on certain things. So again, of what you can eat and what you can't. The pig, because it divides the hoof but does not chew the cud, it is unclean for you. You shall not eat any of their flesh, nor touch their carcasses. Well, there went your bacon, right? I don't know about you all. I'll be pretty upset about that one, but, maybe that's just me. I'm a bacon person. What can I say? And there's still some. That's one of the ones that Muslims are also not allowed to eat. They're not allowed to have pig either. So, we've all thought about, maybe we can just put more pigs in the U.S., require them to be served at every restaurant. Maybe that would help. I don't know. Just a side note there. These you may eat of These you may eat of all that are in water. Anything that has fins and scales you may eat. But anything that does not have fins and scales you shall not eat. It is unclean for you. So again, watch out what you're getting. So whaling, that's any of that stuff out. Shark, that's out. A lot of stuff is out there. But you may eat any clean bird. But these are the ones which you shall not eat: the eagle and the vulture and the buzzard and the red kite, the falcon and the kite in their kinds, and every raven in its kind, and every ostrich, the owl, the seagull, the hawk in their kind, the little owl, the great owl, the white owl, the pelican, the carrion vulture, the cormorant, the stork, and the heron in their kinds, and the hoopoe and the bat. Okay, that was a bunch of stuff. And here's the fun part: everything in there, we don't even know what it is today. We don't know what that translates to. So some of the stuff, we don't even know what it is they couldn't have. But what we do know is, look at the type of birds they're talking about. What do they all have in common?
Relatives.
Well, they're all eating dead things. They're not eating the living, they're eating the dead. They're, for a better way of putting it, God created them to clean the earth up, right? I mean, from all the roadkill, something's got to take care of it, because the highway department's got too much to do as it is. So, the cleanup is taken care of by these birds largely. And that's what they're there for, which also means they feast around a lot more disease and things like that. Well, God designed everything. He knows how it all works. So guess what? He said, don't go there. Those are not the kind of things you want to eat. That's not what you want to put in your mouth. Trust me. So that's the intent on that, is to stay away from things that are eating things that are already dead, if that makes sense. So that was the intent. Okay. And all the teeming life with wings are unclean to you. They shall not be eaten. Basically, he's talking about bugs. Now, back in Leviticus, he did a lot more definition of what they could eat as far as bugs, because there are some they can't. They can take things that are basically that have four legs but bend their legs in order to jump, like say crickets, grasshoppers. They're on the list. You can have those. So your chocolate-covered grasshoppers are safe, okay? Well, it's a delicacy in some countries. Same with chocolate-covered ants, I suppose. A little more legs, but but just, so again, there is more to this. So when he says this, there's a better explanation, but it's back in Leviticus. And I didn't want to take us back. We've already gone through that. You shall eat any clean bird. You may eat any clean bird. You shall not eat anything which dies of itself. You may give it to the alien who is in your town, so he may eat it, or you may sell it to a foreigner, for you are a holy people to the Lord your God. You shall not boil a young goat in its mother's milk. Okay, two things here. What does it mean when it says you shall not eat anything which dies of itself?
Yeah, I wondered the same thing.
Well, basically, animals die on their own, right? Cattle die. Imagine that. A lot of things die on their own, just age or whatnot. That's what they're talking about. If you're walking along and you say, hey, there's a dead deer, I like deer. Deer's really tasty. It's pretty healthy for you. I'm going to go grab that deer. Well, no. That's one of those where he's saying, oh, you can take it, you can give it to somebody else outside, that's not part of the nation of Israel. It's okay for you to go do that, but you can't eat it. Now,
They probably think it's probably some of them died from disease and stuff.
and part of it is that, but what's the main reason? What have you been told?
Got blood in it.
Yes, you can't drink blood. No vampires. I'm sorry, you can't be a Southern Baptist and a vampire. It doesn't go together, okay? No drinking blood. Vampires, they're out. So the reality is that they couldn't get the blood out, so therefore it was not safe for them to drink. Now, yes, I'm sure disease is a part of that too. But as far as the key reason is that you're not to drink blood if you're a part of the nation of Israel. And that's what it all came down to. So hope that makes sense. The last part, you shall not boil a young goat in its mother's milk. Okay. They believe that there were other pagan cultures that actually did that as a ritual sacrifice. So again, God doesn't want people doing anything, the nation of Israel doing anything that would tie them to pagans that were worshiping, especially that were doing a ritual, to please their false god. So the whole idea was some other false god, that's how they did it. They would have to boil in a young goat in its mother's milk. So that was out for the Israelites, and that's why. So I don't know why you would do that, but hey, that was the rule. So I at least understand now why they didn't want you to do that. You shall surely tithe all the produce from what you sow, which comes out of every field every year. You shall eat in the presence of the Lord your God, at the place where he chooses to establish his name, the tithe of your grain, your new wine, your oil, and the firstborn of your herd and your flock, and so that you may learn to fear the Lord your God always. Now, again, keep in mind, the purpose for this is they have to remember to give back to God, to give credit to God for what God has given them. That's why they're having to tithe. That's why it's not always about the money, and in this case, or the value of something. And keep in mind, a lot of this, the first fruits, it wasn't necessarily even to give as some kind of a sacrifice or to give to the Levites or leave at the temple. They were supposed to go there and basically commune with God. So they were to go there in front of the temple, wherever the temple was going to be, and they were supposed to have basically a big picnic. They were supposed to fellowship. They were supposed to have a picnic with Yahweh. That's really what this was about. So it was communing with God, but it was also showing the appreciation for the fact that God provided all this. And so that's what this is about. That they need to go and provide this to commune with similar people. I mean, why do you think we fellowship once a month together? Why do you think we sit down and have a meal? Well, it's to fellowship. It's to get to know each other, to build each other up. Same reason we have Sunday school. I mean, church is nice, but we're not talking to each other during church. In here, we can discuss stuff. It's okay. That's the whole purpose of Sunday school. And this was part of it. It's a way for them to spend time around each other. So kind of a really nice thing. if the distance is so great that you are not able to bring the tithe, since the place where the Lord your God chooses to set his name is too far away from you, when the Lord your God blesses you, then you shall exchange it for money and bind the money in your hand and go to the place where the Lord your God chooses. So, in other words, they still have to go there, but you got to keep in mind, how are they, is it feasible for them to cart all of their first fruits or first grain, whatever? Is it feasible for them to carry all that from where they are to where the temple's set up? Because think about it, this is a huge amount of land, and they're not hopping in the car and getting out there easily. And even if you're talking about, okay, well, they could still, use an ox and use a, cart. If it's your first, let's say first part of your harvest, because you're not doing all of it, you haven't finished your harvest. How long can you be gone before your field that you've got a great harvest, you haven't been able to take it in? Do you have enough people to take it in if you're busy out going to wherever the Lord's temple is going to be? And that's part of it, because you have to think about the reality of the time. They couldn't just hop in the car and go. And even having an ox or horses or whatever they're using to pull a cart full of their goods or their tithe doesn't mean it's going to be a short thing. You might be gone for weeks to get there and get back. And so you have to take these things into consideration. It's a reality of the times that they were in. For us, we're going between continents in a day and less. It's not an option back then. But they can sell it, and they still are to take that money and still use it. But here's the cool part, and this is where I was explaining, they're not just taking it to give it to somebody at the temple, to give it to a Levite, for instance. You may spend the money for whatever your heart desires, for oxen or sheep or wine or strong drink or whatever your heart desires, and there you shall eat in the presence of the Lord your God and rejoice, you and your household. So they're supposed to go do this, but okay, it's too far to take everything. Great, they still go, but you can go there and, hey, well, let's buy an ox, we'll kill it, we'll cook it up, and we're gonna have a nice little picnic. Don't care what you buy whatever it is you want, but have a picnic with the Lord. That's what this was about. And I think that's really important to understand, because a lot of people see this as it's just a tithe. Well, it is a tithe, but it was communing with Yahweh. That's what this was about. Very different, in my opinion, than just a tithe. Also, you shall not neglect the Levite who is in your town, for he has no portion or inheritance among you. At the end of every third year, you shall bring out all of your tithe of your produce in that year, and shall deposit it in your town. The Levite, because he has no portion or inheritance among you, and the alien, the orphan, and the widow who are in your town, shall come and eat and be satisfied, in order that the Lord your God may bless you in all the work of your hand which you do. So it's still giving back to the community, which is the idea, right? You're still supposed to support your community. And that's what this is. This is giving back at the community level, which rather important thing to do, right? I mean, is Christ told us in the New Testament, the poor are always going to be with you. You can't eliminate them. Some people just don't care. They want to be poor. They want to be homeless. They want to be left alone. Why? I don't know. I don't get it, but it doesn't matter. I don't get people that the only thing they care about is work. I want to spend time with my family. So there are a lot of people that I don't understand, but it doesn't mean there's something wrong with what they're doing. It just means it's not for me. That's it. Okay. At the end of every 7 years, I like this one, you shall grant a remission of debts. Wouldn't you like that to happen today? Think about it. Your house has to be paid off in 7 years, or it's yours. I'm thinking the bank is not going to loan past 7 years. My first thought. I mean, let's be honest. Isn't that kind of a cool thought, though? To say that, look, we're going to reset every 7 years. I mean, think about how that would change the way we do things in this world, or in this country, or in this state. I mean, start however large you want, but wouldn't it be nice? If you think about it, just building that out. So you can't be in debt that long. It would change everything for us. This is the manner of remission. Every creditor shall release what he has loaned to his neighbor. He shall not exact it from his neighbor and his brother, because the Lord's remission has been proclaimed. For a foreigner, you may exact it. But your hand shall release whatever it is with your brother. I'd even take that. Think about it. Just any dealings or loans between Christians. Yeah, I know you'd like that, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So there are a lot of things like that I really like the idea. And it's also to make a point of, if you're God's people, shouldn't you be nice to each other? Shouldn't you help each other out? Shouldn't there be you shouldn't abuse it as the borrower. The lender shouldn't abuse it as refusing to loan to you because you're poor and he's not sure you're going to pay it back.
Well, God says also, neither a borrower
Nor a lender be.
be.
Yeah.
He's not wild about loans.
No,
anyway.
he's not. But sometimes that's the only way you can get by.
Yeah.
It's not always a choice. It's one of those, I can't imagine being young at this point in time and think, okay, I want to own a home. Yeah, good luck. Think about the start of the entry fee, right? To get into a market, if you've got to go to a big city to work, for instance, let's say you had to go to Nashville. Great, you're going to have $500,000 if you want to buy a house in Davidson County. That's just the way it is. It is ridiculous, but it's reality. I mean, it doesn't really matter. You can find cheap houses some places.
Yep, my son just got his in the market, and I didn't tell him about you.
Hmm.
It's supposed to close next week, and the new people's loan will be $3,100.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't live in that.
Yeah, it's super expensive. I mean, even in Pulaski, the average house, let's put it this way, Giles County, the average house in Giles County is $201,000. So you could afford to live there, but you can't work there because there's no industry, so you got to drive somewhere. So it's a caveat. But in this market, in this day and age, man, trying to get into a housing market and own a home is quickly becoming something of the past. They keep telling us. I still think it's where we need to be. We all need to have a place that's ours. But anyway. Yeah. Oh, my mom was looking in Culleoka because initially, and yeah. No, it's a hot market and it's expensive. It really, really is. Okay. However, there will be no poor among you, since the Lord will surely bless you in the land which the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance to possess. If only you listen obediently to the voice of the Lord your God, to observe carefully all his commandment, which I am commanding you today. For the Lord your God will bless you as he has promised you, and you will tend to many nations, but you will not borrow. And you will rule over many nations, but they will not rule over you. Isn't that a nice thing? But the nation of Israel would like to hear that today, seeing as they decided to start a war this past week, and we decided to join in. That's not the greatest thing for everybody, but oh well. But it's not, wouldn't it be nice to hear, no, you're not going to have any poor in your land. Oh, there'll always be poor, but not in your land. You're God's people. We're going to take care of you. You're going to be okay. If there is a poor man with you, one of your brothers in any of your towns in your land which the Lord your God is giving you, you shall not harden your heart nor close your hand from your poor brother, but you shall freely open your hand to him and shall generously lend him sufficient for his needs in whatever he lacks. So you're still supposed to help people, in particular your brother. Shouldn't we help our brothers in Christ? Don't get me wrong. I'm all about helping others, but shouldn't we start in our own backyard? Start with our own Christians? I'm sorry?
That's what the Bible says.
Yeah. So I think helping others is great, but helping Christians first is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to build each other up, then you can go out and help others. But it's not all about just helping others. even if you look at Christ's time on earth, what did Christ do? Well, he stayed with his people. He was Jewish, so he was helping the Jews. He was teaching the Jews. He didn't turn down those that were not Jewish when they showed true faith. But that was such a rare occurrence. But it did happen. And I think that's important to point out. It's not that you don't help outside of your own people, but it's those that are showing faith. So, pretty big deal from my standpoint. Beware that there is no base thought in your heart saying, the 7th year, the year of remission is near, and your eye is hostile towards your poor brother, and you give him nothing, that he may cry to the Lord against you, and it will be a sin in you. Now, why would that be? Well, let's go for the obvious reasons. Well, the Jubilee's coming up. I don't think I want to loan you that money because I don't see how you can pay it back in a year. You're not going to even be able to be done with your harvest to pay me back. They're not supposed to look at that when it's another, in our case, it'd be another Christian, but for them, another Israelite, they're not supposed to look at it that way. If they do, then you turn down the loan, giving the loan to the person, your brother, then that's the one that you've got, he's got a right then to call you out before Yahweh and go, hey, he won't help me. And then it is a sin for him. You help regardless. It's not, everything can't be about money, the love of money, but it can't be about money, period. It's not just the love of money. You can't think about things, possessions. You can't take it with you. I haven't seen it yet, except in a Larson cartoon. I've never seen it.
What money is the root of all that?
I went there. But you can't take it with you. Neither the money, nor your toys. I've seen fools, and I used to read a lot of car magazines, that got buried in their car. You just ruined a classic car. Why? What good did that do? We're only here temporarily. We're only stewards of the things that we're given. They're not ours. If you think your land and your house is yours, you're a fool. Because the second you die, it's not yours anymore. It's always been God's. You just don't have to understand that. You have to understand that nothing is owned by us. They are temporary possessions, and that's it. And then they're gone. Sure, they'll go on to somebody else, but eventually everything's going to be destroyed. Revelation's really clear about that. I know we skipped that one because I wasn't ready to teach that. But Revelation's very clear that all this is going to pass away. It's all going to go away, and Yahweh's going to start over, different environment, different everything. And I look forward to it. I mean, I've gotten used to this earth because it's the only thing I know. But I can't imagine what God can do if he wants to. He can do this, and there's so many beautiful things in this world. I can't imagine what he can do if he's trying to reward those that have served him and are his people.
Yeah, a lot of so-called experts more learned than I think is going back like the Garden of Eden.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it may. I don't know. It's why I stay out of Revelation because
My husband thought that was a possibility.
Yeah, it could be. I have too much trouble reading and understanding Revelation. That's why we skipped it in here. Yeah, that's above my pay grade is all I know. So I don't mind doing this stuff. I can understand this, but some of this is a little above me. All right. Well, I think we're at a decent spot to stop here. So we will. Let's see, where are we? Hang on a second. Mark this. Please bear with me just a moment. Okay, so we're going to pick up at 15:11. Huh? Is that right? Yeah, 15:11 next week. All right, well, let's go ahead and... Huh? Sorry. Let's go ahead and close in prayer. Brother Floyd, would you mind, sir? Please.
Heavenly Father, thank you so much for our class and to learn about you. Thank you for the teacher that puts a lot of work in trying to bless us with your word.